What do you do for a living, and how does that affect your family's eating habits?
So my daytime job is I'm a professor at the University of Minnesota at the College of Veterinary Medicine. My PhD was in the area of nutrition, so I'm not a human nutritionist, but each and every day I run the nutrition service at the veterinary college. So I firmly believe that food matters. It matters for my patients, and so the way that I am helping patients stay healthy or get healthy is by paying attention to how we feed them. And it matters at home because it makes a difference in the way I eat and the way we feed our pets and the way we feed our furless kids. How can something you do each and every day, multiple times a day, not impact the way we are and feel?
What are some of the most unhealthy foods Americans should stay away from?
I wouldn't say it's one particular food because, again, I don't think one thing is evil or one thing is great, but if I could categorize it, it's sugar, fat, and salt. In general, we are a country of excess, and the food science is really powerful. So we make things tastier by adding sugar, fat, and salt, and when you eat a lot of those things, you do crave more and more and more. So those things tend to make us overeat. And it's all about moderation. Is a little bit of chocolate is okay, but a lot of bit of chocolate is not a good thing.
What are your feelings about fad diets such as South Beach diet or the Atkins diet?
So those are really good examples. And when I hear about a new diet, it's usually taking something like an ingredient. I've heard of, you're too young, but in the old days there was a grapefruit diet. If you only eat grapefruit, you'll lose a lot of weight. Or the Atkins and South Beach, which say protein, high protein is super marvelous and carbohydrates are evil. Whenever you hear something that makes an ingredient, a single food, or a single nutrient, either wonderful or really horrible, be leery. It's usually probably somewhere in the middle, and there's a reason we call them fads. You should probably just run away.
Our group watched the documentary Forks Over Knives, which promoted a plant-based diet. What are your thoughts on this?
It's a complicated question, actually. So there are some pros and cons. I see the appeal in a plant-based diet, and I would refer to some of the work by Michael Pollan. And he has a great quote, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And that sort of strikes that area of moderation. Plant-based diets could be so healthy and great for you. But the trouble is that when people make that choice, it's really very tricky. There are certain ingredients or nutrients that they might be missing, and so it takes a lot of attention to balance plant proteins. They're not complete, meaning they don't have all the amino acids that you need. There are some vitamins and minerals that are missing. So if you're not going to spend some very careful attention to the way you're eating plant-based diets, I worry about the nutritional quality. So on the other side, that sense of moderation is worth considering. Eat food, not too much, and mostly plants. Putting more plants in our diet, I know we'll all be healthier. The other feature is about the world. It's about thinking about how much of the resources go into animal proteins, and from that I would steer to more plant proteins. But I worry about those extremes of the all plant-based diets if you don't really know what you're doing and get some guidance.
What are the health benefits for reducing meat in diets?
Again, a little tricky to answer since we all eat different amounts of meat, but what I could say, my general recommendation to all Americans, and especially teenagers, having a few in my house, is that eat more plants, eat more plants, eat more plants. Fruits and vegetables, we don't eat nearly enough, and in doing that, you increase your nutrient consumption, your vitamins, your minerals, and by doing that, you're going to be eating less meat and have a healthier life overall.
If you could give some tips on how to be a little bit healthier, what would they be?
Eat more plants, eat more plants. No, I think that we need to think about what are we doing? We're trying to make ourselves healthier. So just like if you are trying out or training for a sports team, you know that there's some workouts that are pretty rigorous. We need to walk away from that idea that every bite has to be delicious or our favorite, or we're not going to eat it. No, thank you. And so think about what it's doing for your body and learn to eat it. And the more you do, the more you'll learn to like it. So you don't have to love everything you eat. You just need to know why you're eating it and why you're exercising and doing the things you need to do to make yourself healthy. So the other tip I have is get creative. So learn how to cook vegetables. Get some good cookbooks and play with spices, because just because you had it one way doesn't mean it can't be delicious in another way. So learn to cook and learn to appreciate food.
Do you have any opinions on artificial sweeteners?
I do, and it's mostly that I'm confused about them. They're different, and we're still continuing to learn about them. So I know there are people that have a really strong sweet tooth, and it's a struggle for them to moderate portions. And a little bit of artificial sweetener, I think, is a fantastic thing. But I think anything that you eat to excess, if you're drinking Diet Coke all day, every day, we know that enough to make us worry. There's some new research out that shows it may alter our ability to metabolize blood sugar and may actually increase our risk for diabetes. So I'd say stay tuned. There's more to learn, and moderation.
The documentary Forks Over Knives, it stressed to not eat anything that comes from animals like milk and cheese and eggs. What are your thoughts on this?
It's a tough one. As a veterinarian and the animal humane issues, I prefer plant proteins. I also, from the environmental issue, animal proteins tend to use more resources, but it's not clear cut. Chickens, eggs, and milk can be raised responsibly, humanely, and as a nutritionist, animal proteins are fantastic. They are complete proteins. Do you know that term? Complete means it has all the amino acids. So it's easy to get your protein requirement in a smaller dose than pairing plant proteins. So it's very easy to meet your protein needs with animal proteins. So it's a tricky balance. I think animal proteins have a place when raised responsibly and humanely.
As students going off to college, what advice would you give to them about eating?
One is beware of the cafeteria. The great news is, as I'm touring college campuses, other than the U with my children, I know that they've really upped their game. So cafeterias are actually quite good. They offer a lot more variety. A lot are focusing on locavore foods, and so there are many, many more fresh food, whole food options. But you'll be like a kid in the candy store. Mom's not watching anymore. Number one, she's not serving it, and you get to choose from everything. So the tendency will be to go to the comfort food, which tends to be the junk food. Pizza and pasta and those sorts of things, and you'll load up. Remind yourself again, I should show you my plate. Keep this in your brain, right? And so as you're making those selections, you still can fill your plate this way, right? The college campuses will have a salad bar. Start there. You're going to be ravenous. Start there, and then fill it up with the heavier calorie, fatty or salty, sugary things. If you're looking for snacks and that late night study thing, plan ahead. Don't wait until you're starving and the food truck drives up. Make a Target run, make a grocery run with a group of buddies and get some fresh fruit. Or a lot of the cafeterias will allow you to remove one fruit item per visit. Take advantage of that. Take one. Those bananas look green. There. Take it back to your room. It'll be ready tomorrow. And so a little bit of planning so that you have the healthy food available when you're starving. Reach for that first. And you'll avoid that freshman 15. Have you heard of that? Yeah.